Welcome back. Today I'm installing a Smittybilt waterproof X20 synthetic rope winch onto the underside of my metal off-road bumper that fits on my 2018 Tacoma. Let's get started. So I'm not sure what order I'm going to release these videos in, but I figured I might as well document the process. So this right here is the box for the X20 waterproof winch. I decided to go with the synthetic rope, which is actually this stuff over here, because the synthetic rope version is like 30 pounds lighter than the metal rope version. And I figured with how long I'm gonna own this truck, it's better off to save that 30 pounds because the more weight you're carrying in your truck, the less the gas mileage is gonna be. And obviously when you're off-roading, you don't want a super heavy vehicle, and 30 pounds is 30 pounds. So I've already taken most of the stuff out of the box. Here we have, this is a wireless control. So it has the wireless capabilities. It can go in and out. Obviously it's a winch, and this is 10,000 pounds. So it should be more than enough to carry the truck. We have this module right here, which installs on the winch, which I'll show in a second. Obviously we have the synthetic rope. Not sure how long that is. I'll look it up in a second. And then here we have the winch itself with the hardware. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, this bumper is a C4 Fab low profile bumper, and it just fits in the underside of my truck. And there's the winch. Let's install this thing. So the front of the winch is facing that direction. It's gonna go out that little slot in the bumper. And so this is like a little control module. It's got a plug right here for the wired control. And this also has, you know, the wireless capabilities. It's water out, but I took off these two silver brackets from the bottom because the silver brackets are used for mounting it right here over the top of all the rope, but I want it mounted over here on the side so it kind of stays out of the way. Fitting underneath my Tacoma, I don't know which spot will fit, but there's one other guy who's done this, David's Toyota. I will link his YouTube channel here, but when he installed his, he put the module over here on the side. So I'm gonna follow his example and hopefully not run into any problems. I put the two added brackets on the bottom, and now the whole thing should just sit right here with those two little screw holes in the side. So I've installed the control box. And then the wiring's pretty straightforward. I mean, everything has its own little like terminal lettering. So this line is an A and it goes to the A port. There's also instructions here off to the side. One thing I would change if I did this again, I would jump inside this control box up here and make sure all these are tight, because as I kink them over to the side, I feel like these nuts loosen up on the inside. And then the rubber boots go down over each of the connections. So there are two wires that go over here to the A port, which is the negative that also goes up to the battery terminal. And so I have the thin and then the battery terminal wire. And then both of these cables, this red one goes to the positive battery terminal and the black one goes to the negative battery terminal. So now I will put this in the bumper. So there's a special little rope guiding plate that goes in front. I'll lock that in from the back with the supplied nuts and washers. So the rope guide is in place. Basically this just has curved edges around it so the rope doesn't get frayed on, you know, some of the sharper edges inside of this metal. The light bar is also in place. This is a Rough Country like black edition light bar. I'll link it down in the video description. So it's not made specifically for this bumper. I just put some of the supplied hardware like that rubber cushion and then the nuts and bolts on the bottom with a bigger washer because that hole was pretty massive. And once I get it all tightened in, it should be in the right spot. It lines up with the hole pretty well. So no complaints. So conveniently, when trying to install the winch, there's a little slot down here at the bottom that we can just slip some of these square nuts into. And that is on every corner. So that square nut goes in there, and then the bolts will come up from the bottom with the washer and the locking washer in place. Okay, so underneath we have the 4 bolts in place. The winch is now secured. And the nylon rope is attached with this Allen bolt right here on the side. Now this says spool wire in that direction, so I'm assuming if we disengage this, it's meaning that I rotate the whole shaft that direction and it spools up around this. Now the instructions say that there needs to be a 1,000-pound load on the rope while it's being spooled up by the winch. But since I don't have power to the winch yet, I'm just gonna spool it up by hand and then put the tension on it later. I just need to get it out of the way so it's not dangling around everywhere. And there we have it. The winch is installed and wrapped up, hopefully the right direction. We have the wiring harness for the light bar in the front, and we have the power and negative for the winch. Last time we saw the winch, it was on the underside of the bumper, and now it is installed in the truck. We have the control box over here on the left with the winch here in the center, which is good because there's this huge metal bar here keeping the control box from being placed in the center. We have the positive and negative cables running up here in front of the radiator. I'll probably zip tie this up and make them cleaner later. We routed these around the back. One's tapped into the positive and the other one is here with the negative on the side of the truck. The truck is off currently, but the winch is working.
So when you're using a winch, you want to have the vehicle running. You can run the winch about 30 seconds at a time. The amp draw, or the flow of electricity from your battery through the winch, is a lot faster than the amps being replenished to your battery from your alternator. So basically have it running and don't go more than 30 seconds at a time. Another thing that will help your winch to last longer is don't hit the switch a bunch of times in succession. Don't go bump, bump, bump. Don't do this. It'll make your contacts in your winch box wear out faster.
And what happens if we were to press the winch button all the way in until the cable hits the guard?
So winches are strong enough to lift the truck. So naturally, when you get up to the guard, you want to coast a little bit. You saw that continue to move. If your thumb's in the way, you can smash your thumb. There's a lot of dumb ways to die. There's a lot of dumb ways to die. So just let it coast in there. So if you're gonna bump that would be an appropriate time. You don't want it to rattle, but you don't want to suck it into your fair lead and chew it all up either.
So one cool thing about this winch, which I will link in the video description below, is that it is self-lubricating, but in the instructions it says that it does need to be extended and retracted at least once a month to maintain that lubrication through all of the moving parts. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Brian will be here to answer them all for you, and thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.